I'm Tricia Logan. I'm an assistant professor in First Nations and Indigenous Studies at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. I'm also cross-appointed right now as the interim academic director at the Indian Residential School History and Dialogue Center. I'm also cross-appointed in the School of Public Policy and Global Affairs at UBC, which is a 25% appointment, but most of my time I'm spent in the Institute for Critical Indigenous Studies. I've been a member of the International Association of Genocide Scholars since 2009. I joined as a graduate student, as a PhD student, and then later now as a faculty member. I joined IAGS initially because I was working on settler colonial genocide in Canada, and there were few places to talk about that research. There were a few places that were willing to kind of have that broader conversation. So I kind of attended a couple of conferences early on, and then my participation grew over time. I'm now, and the comparison, I think a few people talk about the changes to the International Association of Genocide Scholars, and a big change is from those times around 2009 and 2010, there was a very small handful of Indigenous scholars researching colonial genocide, settler colonial genocide, and now there's an Indigenous Researchers Caucus. I worked for the last 25 years with survivors of residential schools, Indian residential schools in Canada, and broadly settler colonial genocide in Canada, where residential school is kind of at the center of that because that's primarily who I work with, survivors of residential school, but all of the kind of structures of settler colonialism in Canada, historical context and then contemporary context, which is gradually leading towards more renewed conversations on accountability and justice after finding missing children and unmarked burials in Canada. Survivor communities and Indigenous communities are increasingly asking for more accountability and justice on settler colonial genocide, and the role of the church as well as the state and as well as corporations, which inevitably leads to conversations about climate justice.